a teenage girl walking home in her own neighborhood. Suddenly, a security guard pulls a gun on her. But what he didn't know, her big sister is an FBI tactical commander, and she's already on her way. What happened next left the whole HOA in shock. "Get your hands where I can see them." The sharp, commanding voice cut through the warm Saturday afternoon as 17-year-old Jasmine Williams froze on the sidewalk, clutching a grocery bag. A man in a cheap security uniform stood 10 feet away, hands trembling as he pointed a pistol straight at her. She had only been walking back from the corner store in her own neighborhood, the neighborhood her father had lived in for over a decade. But the self-proclaimed security officer from the Homeowners Association had decided she didn't look like she belonged. Cars slowed down. Neighbors peeked through blinds. But no one moved to help. Jasmine's heart pounded, but she remembered her father's advice. Stay calm. Don't give them a reason. What neither Jasmine nor the security guard knew at that moment was that her father's phone was buzzing, and someone was already on their way. Miles away, in an unmarked SUV, Special Agent Commander Danielle Williams was wrapping up paperwork from a morning operation. Her phone lit up with a frantic call from her father, Thomas. "Danny, it's Jasmine. She just called me crying. Some HOA security guy's got a gun on her. Right outside our house." Danielle didn't waste a second. She tossed the papers aside, flipped on the sirens, and hit the gas. She wasn't just Jasmine's big sister. She was the head of an FBI tactical response unit, trained for hostage rescues and high-risk arrests. Her mind raced as she approached the gated community. A wannabe cop with a gun and an attitude is dangerous enough, but one targeting my little sister? By the time Danielle pulled up, the scene had escalated. The security guard, later identified as Kyle Benson, was still waving the pistol, barking orders at Jasmine. A few neighbors were outside now, phones in hand, recording. Danielle stepped out, her presence calm but radiating authority. She wore jeans and a plain black t-shirt, but the badge clipped to her belt and the holstered sidearm were impossible to miss. "Sir," she said firmly, striding forward, "put the weapon down." "Now," Kyle sneered. "Who are you? This is private property." "She's trespassing." Danielle didn't blink. "I'm Commander Danielle Williams, FBI Tactical Operations. You're pointing a firearm at an unarmed minor in front of witnesses. Drop it, or I will arrest you where you stand." Kyle's face faltered for a moment, but pride and ignorance won over. "I have authority here." That was the last straw. Danielle took 2 calculated steps forward, her voice dropping to the tone that makes armed suspects obey. "No, you had authority. You just committed aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Hand where I can see them." As Kyle hesitated, the real police, called by multiple neighbors, rolled up with sirens blaring. Jasmine ran straight into Danielle's arms, tears streaming down her face. The responding officers quickly assessed the situation, taking statements from witnesses who confirmed Jasmine had done nothing wrong. Kyle, on the other hand, was fidgeting and stammering about suspicious behavior and neighborhood safety. When Danielle explained she was FBI and that Kyle had aimed a gun at a minor without cause, the officers immediately secured his weapon and placed him in handcuffs. One officer shook his head. "Ma'am, this isn't the first complaint about him. HOA hired him after he got kicked out of a local security firm for excessive force. Sounds like he finally crossed the line." Within weeks, Kyle faced charges for aggravated assault, unlawful detention, and brandishing a firearm. The HOA, scrambling to avoid lawsuits, fired him immediately and issued a formal apology to the Williams family. But Danielle wasn't done. She attended the next HOA meeting in full uniform and addressed the room. "You don't protect a community by targeting people based on how they look. You protect it by knowing your neighbors, respecting their rights, and following the law. My sister lives here. She belongs here. And anyone who thinks otherwise is part of the problem." The crowd applauded. Some residents admitted they had turned a blind eye to Kyle's behavior for too long. From that day forward, the HOA implemented strict hiring standards, mandatory bias training, and a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination. As for Jasmine, she learned something powerful that day, that courage doesn't always come from being the biggest or loudest person in the room. Sometimes it comes from knowing someone has your back, And in her case, that someone just happened to be one of the most fearless FBI commanders in the country. The guard thought he had power, but power means nothing when you abuse it. That day, justice didn't just knock, it kicked the door down. Remember, respect is earned, not forced. And when you stand up for what's right, you change more than one life. You change the whole community. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share it so the message spreads.